Hey there, fantasy owners. Welcome to Lift the Cup Fantasy, or LTC Fantasy as some call it. We're going to start doing our, since the regular season's over, start doing our team-by-team fantasy reviews. We'll look at the different positions, goaltenders, defensemen, and forwards, who led in different statistical categories, who was the biggest surprise and disappointment from each team fantasy-wise, and who was really a good fantasy player on a weekly basis, not just a streamer basis. So we'll start off with Anaheim. We'll go in alphabetical order, and these will be coming out every few days. If you do like the episode, or if you want to catch your favorite team, etc., hit subscribe. That way it's easier to find the different videos in the channel. You can catch your favorite teams review, your favorite rivalry reviews, or just some teams you don't think of, or maybe you want to catch all 32. So we'll get right into it. And goaltenders, John Gibson led them in games played with 55. He also led them in wins with 18, which is a pretty low number, but Anaheim had a rough season. Goals against average was led by the backup, Anthony Stolarz, at 2.62 goals against average, and he also led him in save percentage at .919. So overall, Stolarz's numbers were better than Gibson, but Gibson is the guy in Anaheim, and Anaheim did have a rough season, so they might be a little bit inflated, obviously, when you're facing that much rubber. Over in defensemen, who led them in goals was Cam Fowler with 9. He also led them with assists at 33, so no surprise he led the defensemen in points at 42. Plus minus was Andre Schuster at a -3. He only played 22 games this year, so he didn't quite have as long of a rough season as the rest of Anaheim did. Hits was Kevin Shattenkirk at 73. He also led them in blocks at 130 and shots on goal at 163. So Shattenkirk, known for his offensive side of the puck, actually led in hits and blocks on the defensive side of the puck, which was pretty surprising when you think about the career that he's had and the points that he's put up in the past. Forwards, who led them in goals, was Troy Terry at 36. Assists was Trevor Zegras at 37, so a couple nice young guys. And led him in points was Troy Terry at 66 points. Plus minus was Zach Aston Reese. He was a +9. And yes, he did come over from Pittsburgh, but since he came over from Pittsburgh, he was a plus player since the deadline there when he came over. Hits was also Zach Aston Reese at 230 hits. He definitely throws that body around, so he had a lot of hits there. Blocks was the wily vet, well, no longer an Anaheim Duck, retired now. Ryan Getzlaf had 56 blocks, and he led the forward corps in that category. And shots on goal, no surprise, Troy Terry at 188. If you lead in goals, you're probably shooting the puck a lot, so he did leave in that. Who was the biggest disappointment fantasy-wise? For me, anyways, it was John Gibson. He had a really, really rough season. I know Anaheim wasn't expected to do much, but Gibson's he's in top 15 goaltenders, maybe top 10 overall, definitely career-wise. He just had a really rough season, only going 18, 26, and 11. His goals against was 3.21, so over a half goal, or right around half goal a game more than the backup in Stolarz. And his save percentage was only .904, which is really low by Gibson's standards. So for me, that's probably the biggest fantasy disappointment on Anaheim's roster. Biggest fantasy surprise was Troy Terry. Yeah, you knew there was a little bit of offensive upside there, but he really blew up for 36 goals, 30 assists, 66 points, and only 74 games played. So almost a point per game player. And that kind of brings us into who is fantasy relevant on a weekly basis. For me, there's only really two kind of keepers on the roster, and Terry and Zegras. They were good. They were both just a hair under a point per game all season long. They by far offered the most fantasy upside there. Yes, there is other good players on Anaheim that you can stream, like Shattenkirk or Fowler or even Henrique up front, but they're more on the streamer basis where you're probably not going to hold on to them all season long. I really do hope you did enjoy this review. We'll be up with Arizona in a few days. If you did like it, remember to hit like, hit subscribe, and remember that notification bell, and enjoy the off-season, fantasy owners.